Hello everyone, welcome back once again to On the Couch with David and Travis.
So this was episode number 7, A Human Work. Mm-hmm. First, I didn't really understand the title. I think I kind of do now.
Okay.
But what were your overall thoughts?
I didn't really care for it. I thought I like the character of Misato, but I thought we had enough of her in the last couple of ones.
I agree.
Where it's like, I kind of get who she is more so than the other characters, and I feel like we should spend more time with some of the other ones.
It's a very fillery episode. It reminds me of some of the episodes of Avatar we watched, where it's like, I didn't think this was a bad episode. I thought it was fine. Okay. Not great, not fantastic. But it didn't offer a whole lot. There was, in the first about 10 minutes, there was a lot of sort of history and lore they dropped on us. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was nice to see some more sort of background at Nerve. I think Misato and Ritsuko work off each other very well. Their characters, I very much enjoy both of them. So I like having them together. But, we were talking about when we were watching this, the setup with the guy who's like, oh, this is perfectly fine. She's like, it's never going to work. Oh, it doesn't work. It wasn't a very suspenseful or surprising episode. No. It was very sort of generic. And
everything
cliche.
that happened, I expected to happen at the very last. From the very beginning, I'm like, yep, it's going to go wrong. Misato's going to try and save it, and at the last second, something's going to happen.
In a very general sense, I think there's a lot of sort of smaller things here, too. And you're right, we did just have a Misato episode, and when we said a Rei one, and now I think we're finally getting to introduce Asuka, but we should really be focusing more on maybe Gendo or Shinji at this point.
Yeah.
We both really like Misato, but it is like...
I think it's just too much.
I think it was a charming episode. The action was very boring. The climax was uninteresting. But I sort of liked this... it's only touched on the very beginning and the very end. But I actually really liked the ending note of this episode. The sort of arc it goes through. Where Shinji's like, oh, she's embarrassing, she's a slob. And then, what's-his-face, Kensuke points out, oh, well, you should be happy. She shows you a point she doesn't want other people to see. That means your family.
I get that, but it feels very much like, the more you know, from NBC. Like, it felt very cheesy.
I didn't feel that way. I thought it was cute. I thought it was charming. The dialogue and wording of it wasn't fantastic, but the idea of it, I thought was, I enjoyed it. And I do, like I said, I like seeing these inner machinations of Nerve, which is going to become very important eventually. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of nice. And I also like sort of the pacing difference of, this isn't just an episode where, oh, monster shows up, we gotta kill the monster, Shinji gets in the robot, we kill the monster, we're all happy. It was a little bit different. It's a weaker episode. It's along the lines of some of the earlier, like, between 1 and 7 episodes of Avatar that we watched, but I don't think it's a bad one. I think you should watch it. And I do have a couple just notes, things I noticed. We learned more about the Second Impact, which I think is really important. The Second Impact is a huge event for this series, and it's important that we know more about it, particularly that it's sort of a cover-up. Yeah. Going along that same lines, we sort of saw some stuff that, Gendo is not afraid to cover up. He's not afraid to set up. He's not afraid to sort of pull the strings, which, we kind of knew, but...
What I liked, I think, and this sounds really boring, but, my favorite parts about this episode are seeing, the background, like you said, the machinations behind what, a government that operates this, how does that work? Mm-hmm. And so, the time where she's like, give me the password, and he's like, well, I can't do that until I call my supervisor, and then he has to call a supervisor, then he has to call another guy who's, off on a golf course, and then he has to get written permission,
it's some commentary on bureaucracy and stuff like that, but I feel like we had a sequence just like that in a previous episode.
It felt more detached here, which I kind of liked, because that's how it's supposed to make you feel like, oh, this guy's, on a golf course, and he's supposed to be, the leader of this government that's saving the world, but he doesn't care. He's just, off relaxing, which I kind of liked.
I think the title was supposed to be a human work. A theme of this episode sort of seemed like, Misato has that line of acts of men are better than acts of God. Yeah. And that's sort of another big theme of the series is God versus man versus beast. And it ties in with introducing that, from another perspective, people see the Evangelions as sort of beasts, monsters that can't be tamed. Mm-hmm. That's an important thing to introduce. I also like that he brought up, because this is something we haven't really seen at all yet, that piloting the Avas causes mental instability for the pilots and is a problem for them. And that's something we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen that at all.
Well, we have, but not explicitly shown that.
I guess we've seen it indirectly, but we haven't seen it in the literal sense.
Yeah.
We obviously actually got set up again, though.
I do like how at the end they reveal that Gendo was the one pulling the strings behind it, and Ritsuko was...
No, she knows.
She knows she was in on it. And it seemed like everyone was in on it but Misato, which is interesting. Yeah, that was a good little scene to add in, and it was very understated, but it lets you know that Misato's not...
You could miss it if you weren't really paying attention.
Misato's not respected as much as they would first show.
Yeah. And I also kind of liked... Well, I think it's a good episode. I'm trying to think of any other little things... I would say in the whole scope, it's sort of an important one just for some of these details, these lore. But character-wise, other than those moments with Gendo and Ritsuko, and that's like 10 seconds, we aren't really shown or given anything we don't already know about Shinji and Misato, were the main focus of this episode. Plus, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's still too much of Kensuke and Toji, which if I have to give this one huge compliment, I would much rather see a boring generic episode focusing on Shinji and Misato than Kensuke and Toji, so...
That's true.
And at very least, at least this isn't like some weird or some boring bullying sort of thing that we had before, and stuff like that. But it's okay.
It really wasn't. I feel like it wasn't trying to do much out of the normal.
No, we're still at the point where it's still very much. I think. I mean, besides some of the language and violence, thematically, we're still sort of in Saturday morning cartoon. Kind of air vibes. Yeah. And I don't want, because I mean, obviously it's a little more adult than something like Captain Planet or Spider-Man, but like scene-wise, character-wise, thematically, we're still in that territory.
Yeah, we're still in that format.
Yes.
So hopefully it'll break out of it.
So next episode is number 8. We don't have the titles. I mean, with Avatar, we always knew it ahead of time, but we kind of have to...
And I think you said this is the one where Asuka...
Yeah, I believe so. I might be wrong. We'll see. All right.
I'm excited.
We'll catch you next time.